Welcome back to our Isopanishad class, continuing from the last week. Let's begin with the Mangalacharan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yudapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vidantang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dhinavando Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhesha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhanuswamin Niti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapata Kaswamin Niti Namine Namo Yacharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayine Gaurakata Dhamo Daya Nagara Gramatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Paschatadeshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Giring Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. So we're going to be reading from Sri Isopanishad. In the last week, we have been reading from the verse number 6. Today's verse will be verse number 5. Today's verse will be verse number 6. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmani evanu pashyati sarva bhutesu cha atmanang tato na vijugupshate. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmani evanu pashyati sarva bhutesu cha atmanang tato na vijugupshate. Does one of you want to read the word-to-word meaning for this, please?
Yeah, he who, but Sarvani, all, Bhutani, living entities, Atmani, in relation to the Supreme Lord, Eva only, Anupashyati, observes in a systematic way, Sarva Bhuteshu, in every living being, Cha, and Atmanam, the super soul, Tataha, thereafter, not Vijigupshate, hates anyone.
Just before we move on with the translation and the purport, I just wanted to go back to our previous verse. Verse number 5. Tad ejati tan naijati tad dhure tad antike tad antar asya sarvasya tad u sarvasyasya bhahyataha. The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside of everything. So that's the verse that we saw in the last week, and we saw as to how the Lord, has been described apparently with some contradictions, but not that there are any contradictions in that. the first fact is that all of these that have been described here are absolute, even though they look apparently contradicting. And the purpose of such statements in terms of trying to contradictingly present is just to show us the inconceivable nature of the Lord. And with that, when we move on to the verse number 6, which is the verse for today, we see here translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He who systematically sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. So we see that as to how this verse connects in from the previous verse to say that one is the Lord is completely inconceivable in his nature, in his activities and his everything. And one should be able to see everything, even though apparently looking contradictory in relationship to the Supreme Lord. And one who is able to not only see the Supreme Lord, but also sees all living entities also in relationship with the Supreme Lord, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, that is the person who is supposed to be present in the in a very steady state, or one who hates anything or any being. Purport. This is a description of the Mahabhagavata, the great personality who sees everything in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord's presence is realized in 3 stages. The Kanishtadhikari is in the lowest stage of realization. He goes to a place of worship, such as a temple, church, or mosque, according to his religious faith, and worships there according to scriptural injunctions. Devotees in this stage consider the Lord to be present at the place of worship and nowhere else. They cannot ascertain who is in what position in devotional service, nor can they tell who has realized the Supreme Lord. Such devotees follow the routine formulas and sometimes quarrel among themselves, considering one type of devotion better than another. These Kanishtadhikaris are actually materialistic devotees who are simply trying to transcend the material boundary to reach the spiritual plane. Now, Srila Prabhupada differentiates as to somebody who is in the path of devotional service can be categorized into 3 categories. And he begins the purport by his statement by saying that this is a description of the Mahabhagavata. So the statement that is there in the verse number 6 is actually the one which portrays or personifies a Mahabhagavata. But to establish that fact in terms of who the Mahabhagavata is, he categorizes who are the other types of devotees. And he says, the great personality who sees everything in relationship to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is already mentioned as to a person who is trying to transcend, the nature. He says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Kavihastini Sunichaiva Swapake Cha Pandita Samadarshinaha. That a person who is said to be in knowledge, is that what it says? No, it says Vidya, that he has knowledge, but Vinaya Sampanne, that one who has knowledge in its proper assimilation and maturity, that one who has assimilated the knowledge properly and who has matured by dint of that knowledge, that person sees, right? So simply knowledge alone is not enough. The knowledge has to be assimilated, right? And sometimes the knowledge might not be properly assimilated. What does it mean? It means that, we might have consumed knowledge, but then the knowledge can have a indigestion. So which means without proper assimilation, it just settles down inside. So we try to speculate mentally based on such kind of knowledge. The beautiful description is given that of the pastime of Lord Nrsingadeva and Hiranyakashipu. When Lord Nrsingadeva was trying to have his fun pastime of playing with Hiranyakashipu or killing Hiranyakashipu, he personified a very gory figure, and he wanted to, tear up, the intestines of Hiranyakashipu. And when he did so, he tore up everything, and then he picked up the intestines of Hiranyakashipu and he put it, as a garland to himself, right? We can see that. And the Acharyas are very interestingly commenting on that as to why did Lord Nrsingadev do that? Is it simply some kind of a act that has no meaning, or does it have a meaning? And the meaning that is being described is saying that Hiranyakashipu had also gotten knowledge, but his knowledge was simply not properly assimilated. He had an indigestion, so to say, in a figurative way, that the knowledge was there in his intestine instead of his heart, right? When proper knowledge assimilates and matures, it is there in the heart, which means it transforms into proper activity, right? And when it just indigested, just to respect that knowledge, he picked up the intestines and made it as as his garland. Otherwise, nothing else of Hiranyakashipu is of any worth, right? So knowledge is good, but then if the knowledge is not properly assimilated and if it does not mature, then that knowledge is of no use, right? Srila Prabhupada says that simply knowledge alone without proper understanding becomes dry speculation. And simply devotion without that knowledge is also dangerous. He says it becomes simply emotion, right? There is no devotion in it. It just becomes emotion, right? So this is a description of the Mahabhagavata, the great personality who sees everything in relation. So this person, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Brahmane, he looks at a Brahmana, Kavi Hastini Suni Chaiva Swapakecha. He looks at Kavi Hastini, he looks at a horse, it looks at an elephant, Swapacha, a dog eater, and all of these living entities that he sees, Samadarshinaha means he looks at everything in the same platform. Now, what does that mean? Does it mean that he equates the Brahmana to a horse or an elephant or a Swapacha? Is that what he does? No. The understanding is that he understands that everyone is fundamentally a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So basically, they are all spirit soul. It is just that they have been encaged in different forms according to their own karma. So they have taken these forms, but ultimately they are all parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in that sense, he sees all of them equal. So Pandita Samadarshinaha. So if looking at today's verse, we see that who sees all living entities, right, and everything, right, as parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, he does not hate or anything or any being, anything or any being. So that is what is being mentioned here. Now, further, Srila Prabhupada categorizes the person who is situated in such a state, who has raised himself to seeing that, and being a devotee as to how the categorization is. The Supreme Lord's presence is realized in 3 stages. Now, from just realizing that everybody is spirit, soul, part and parcel of Krishna, he has raised to the level of being a devotee, right? And at that stage, also, one can be categorized into 3 levels. The Kanishtadikari is in the lowest stage of realization. He goes to a place of worship, such as a temple, church, or mosque, according to his religious faith, and worships there according to scriptural injunctions. So one who simply follows the rules and regulations that have been described in the scriptures, which means he is following according to regulative principle, which is sadhana. Devotees in this stage consider the Lord to be present at the place of worship and nowhere else. So their ability to conceive the Lord is only through a certain form of the Lord. They will not be able to conceive the Lord anywhere else, right? They cannot ascertain who is in what position in devotional service. So one is they will not be able to see the Lord in different forms. That is one, other than the places of worship. Number 2 is they also will not be able to identify who is a devotee and who is not a devotee. They cannot ascertain the position, nor can they tell who has realized the Supreme Lord. Such devotees follow the routine formulas and sometimes quarrel among themselves because they cannot identify as to who is a devotee and who is a non-devotee. So they sometimes quarrel that in terms of position they might be, and that is a Kanishtadikari or somebody who is a neophyte. Such devotees follow the routine formulas and sometimes quarrel among themselves, considering one type of devotion better than another. When we talk about considering one type of devotion better than another, it is not only within a particular sampradaya, but sometimes even away from the sampradaya. This is a very important learning and understanding that as devotees that we should get. Living entities as human beings are at different levels, and they have all been given different levels of understanding according to their ability of assimilation. So we see that there are various religions throughout the world. Sometimes the Lord gives a particular instruction, and then apparently another incarnation of the Lord comes through another sampradaya and gives a different instruction. Now they seem contradicting as to why they should be contradicting. That is because we should understand that the Lord gives instruction according to one's level of elevation, understanding, and ability to assimilate, right? So we should be able to appreciate that and try and understand, instead of fighting, saying that my religion is better than your religion, my sampradaya is better than another sampradaya, my guru is better than another guru. And it can go on and on and on, all the way up, saying that, oh, the worship of a particular deity is the best type of worship. Understanding, Radha and Krishna in their most mellowful pastime is the most better understanding. Yes, all of these statements are correct, but one has to understand they are all applicable for devotees at different levels of their understanding. So it might not be just one jacket that fits everyone, right? So one has to understand that and appreciate it. So they cannot ascertain who is in what position in devotional service, nor can they tell who has realized the Supreme Lord. They follow routine formulas because they only know these are the set rules, and I have to just blindly follow that. That's all they know, right? They cannot think beyond that. These Kanishtadikaris are actually materialistic devotees who are simply trying to transcend the material boundary to reach the spiritual plane. Now, when we think of these Kanishtadikaris, and when they are behaving in such a way, it is also offensive that if one thinks, oh, he's just a Kanishta, he's a neophyte devotee, and he's acting in such a way, right? But one should not simply try to put them down. One should also consider that Kanishtadikari, that he is or she is a person who is trying to transcend the material boundary, and he is also on the spiritual plane. So one has to respect that, and one has to understand. And when one is able to understand that, then he becomes a Madhyamadikari. That, oh, he is in a Kanishta stage, so he does not have a proper understanding. So maybe I can try to help, or maybe I can request somebody who is more senior than me to help. That should be the approach, right? And moving on to the next paragraph, those who have attained the second stage of realization are called Madhyamandikaris. These devotees observe the distinctions between four categories of being: the Supreme Lord, the devotees of the Lord, the innocent who have no knowledge of the Lord, and the atheists who have no faith in the Lord and hate those in devotional service. The Madhyamadikari behaves differently towards these four classes of person. He adores the Lord, considering him the object of love. He makes friends with those who are in devotional service. He tries to awaken the dormant love of God in the hearts of the innocent, and he avoids atheists who deride the very name of the Lord. Now, here is a very powerful instruction that Srila Prabhupada gives in this purport, right? It says, a Madhyamadikari understands and distinguishes between different categories of people or human beings, right? One is he understands first the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because that is the reference point as to we all come as part and parcels of the Supreme Lord. So we first recognize the complete whole, which is the Supreme Lord. And then we understand that there are the next level of understanding, which we saw in the beginning, which is Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Kavihastini, that we understand that everybody is a soul. Now, within that soul, there are some souls who are devotees of the Lord, which means they have developed their consciousness to become devotees and surrender unto the Lord. So those are devotees of the Lord. The others are in a neutral state, who are called the innocent, because they do not have sufficient knowledge. They are in that neutral stage where they haven't still chosen as to becoming a devotee of the Lord. So they have a great potential. And the other is the fourth category, which is the atheist, who have no faith in the Lord, and in fact, they hate those in devotion service, which means they have apparently some knowledge, which is half-baked, but they cannot come to the conclusion that one has to surrender unto the Lord, and they become sometimes offensive, or they become renegade to becoming a devotee. So the Madhyamandikari behaves differently towards these four classes of person. And how does he behave with these four classes of person? That is described by Srila Prabhupada here. He says, this Madhyamandikari, he adores the Lord, considering him the object of love, which means what? That he has a very clear understanding of self-realization, that he is not this body, he is spirit soul. And that the spirit soul is part and parcel of Krishna. Why? Because Krishna is the whole. He is Sarva Karana Karanam. He is Anadiradi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the original. There is nobody who is original than him. And he is the source of everything. And we are also part of his source, which means we are all emanating from him. Mamaivamso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, that we are all parts and parcels of him. And so then finally come to the conclusion saying that our identity is to serve that complete being part and parcel. That is self-realization, right? And from that stage on, he develops himself slowly into a Kanishtadikari, into a Madhyamadikari, and so on and so forth. So the Madhyamadikari behaves differently. And how to do towards the Lord? Considers that Krishna is the object of love, that he is the prayojana. He is the ultimate goal that one has to reach as a human being. To that understanding he has. So Madhyamadikari is clear about the goal. Then what does he do? With the friends or with the devotees of the Lord, he makes friends with those who are in devotional service, which means he associates with them who are similar-minded, right, with the devotees of the Lord, so that he can gain in terms of his learning and understanding in the association of the devotees. And for those who are innocent, who have no knowledge of the Lord, what does he try to do? He tries to awaken the dormant love of God, which means he tries to preach to them. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells us this instruction also, that Bharata Bhumite Hoile, Manusha Janmaja, Janma Shartaka Kari Kari Paropakar, he says, right? So what is the instruction? If we try and understand this particular paragraph in terms of this instruction, he says, Manusha Janma, which means he has taken a human body. Janma Shartaka Kari, which means what is the purpose of the human life? The purpose of the human life is described in the Vedas in the beginning, saying that Atato Brahma Jignasha, that one has to inquire into the absolute truth. That is the purpose of human life. So, and he has been given why and for whom. He says Ataha Brahma Jignasha, that since he has gotten a human body, his responsibility is to inquire into the absolute truth, right? So that is the instruction that is given. Now he has gotten a Bharata Bhumite Manusha Janma. He has gotten a human body now. What is he supposed to do? Janma Shartaka Kari. How can one make his Janma Shartaka, or complete or perfect? How can he make one's life perfect? Simply by having the right goal or the right inquiry or the right path, which is which was described, making Krishna as the object of love, right? That is how one can make it Shartaka. Then what he should do, if he wants to make it more Shartaka, proper, he has to take association of other devotees so that he can maintain his perfection. Otherwise, his level of perfection will come down slowly. There is a possibility. So association is important. And then he says that Paropakar, once he has perfected himself and also having it confirmed by association of the devotees, that the other devotees are also recognizing his growth in Krishna consciousness, he is ready to go and give the knowledge that he has acquired and the maturity and the assimilation that he has gotten to others who are innocent. So he says, the innocent who have no knowledge of the Lord, he goes and Paropakar, he gives, he helps them, right? There are different types of upakaras, right? Which means one can give help to anybody. Somebody might give education to somebody in charity. Somebody might give food in charity. Somebody might give clothing in charity or a place of stay and so on and so forth. But this is called Paraupakara, which means the highest charity that one can give. And what does the devotee want to give? He does not want to give anything material to anybody. He wants to give the greatest object of love that he has gotten and that he has nurtured within himself, which is Krishna. So he goes and gives Krishna to others. So he tries to awaken the dormant love of God in the hearts of the innocent. And then while doing this process, it is very important as much as he is taking association by making friends with devotees, he has to make dissociation or disassociate with the atheist, right, who deride the very name of the Lord, right? So he avoids them completely. And we see that a lot of description is given as to how one has to avoid the association of non-devotees, right? And what are the categorization of those non-devotees, which is very elaborately mentioned in the Nectar of Instruction and various other places. So he avoids. So to come, to summarize on the activities of a Madhyamadikari will be able to understand another Kanishtadikari, right? He is not puffed up of that position. However, how he classifies the classes of persons is that one is he understands the Supreme Lord and he adores him, considering him the object of love. That's number one. And then other devotees of the Lord, he tries to make friends with them and he associates with them and takes good association for his own well-being and growth in Krishna consciousness. Then he tries to awaken or do paropakar to the others who are innocent, and he completely avoids the association of atheists. So those are the four things that a Madhyamadikari does. Above the Madhyamadikari is the Uttamadikari, who sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee does not discriminate between an atheist and a theist, but sees everyone as part and parcel of God. He knows that there is no essential difference between a vastly learned Brahmana and a dog in the street, because both of them are part and parcel of the Lord. Although they are engaged in different bodies on account of the different qualities of their activities in their previous lives, he sees that the Brahmana, particle of the Supreme Lord, has not misused his little independence given him by the Lord, and that the dog particle has misused his independence and is therefore being punished by the laws of nature by being engaged in the form of a dog. Not considering the respective actions of the Brahmana and the dog, the Uttamadikari tries to do good to both. Such a learned devotee is not misled by material bodies, but is attracted by the spiritual spark within them. So now there is the description from Madhyamadikari to the Uttamadikari. Who is the Uttamadikari? It says that who sees everything in relationship to Krishna, right? Everything in Krishna Sambandha. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. That he can see that everything that is present has some connection to Krishna and somehow can be engaged in Krishna's service. So that is a Uttamadikari. And then such a devotee does not discriminate with whom, not only with devotees, as to somebody is an exalted devotee and somebody is a Madhyama, but he does not discriminate even an atheist to a theist. Why? Because his categorization is only based on, even though he sees everyone in the same level, Samadarshina, but at the same time, the way he sees is in terms of only one categorization. What is that categorization? That one is in knowledge, which means he has understood his eternal position, that he is Jivera Sharupahoi Krishnera Nitadas, and the other one that who is in ignorance or he's innocent. So there are people with understanding and there are people without understanding. That is how he differentiates. So he reaches out to both to give us association with the ones who have understanding and try and slowly bring them up. And he also reaches out to the atheists to try and see as to how he can help them, right, in this grade. So we can see that how when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Lord Nityananda Prabhu reached out to everyone, Dina hina dhata chilo hari name udharilo, tare sakhi jagai ar madai. Right? Even to the most atheistic natured people like Jagai and Madai, he reached out. Dina hino, even if they are very, very fallen, or one is fallen, but the other one is who? The persons who are atheistic, heinous, abominable activities being performed by them. Even to them he reached out. That is the nature there. So Nityananda Prabhu, reached out to all of them and tried to give this great, gift, or the greatest dhana, golokera premadana harinama sankirtana, that this great dhana has been given to everyone. So such a devotee does not discriminate between an atheist and a theist, but sees everyone as part and parcel of God. He knows that There is no essential difference between a vastly learned Brahmana and a dog in the street, because both of them are part and parcel of the Lord, although they are engaged in different bodies on account of different qualities of their activities in their previous life. Right? The different living entities, why he doesn't see difference? Because he only sees the soul and not the engagement of them. And why are they engaged? It is because of their qualities. Why do they have those qualities? It is because of their previous life, the activities that they have performed in their previous life. What is that? That is the karmic activities that they have done. Right? Why did they perform those activities instead of doing activities which are favorable to attain the ultimate object of love? Because they were in ignorance. So he only sees that ignorance. And he tries to give knowledge. Right? Agyana timirandasya jnana anjana shalakaya chakshurun militangena tasmai Sri Gurave. Right? So we see they simply try to throw the light to them so that they can come out of their ignorance. So he sees that the Brahmana particle of the Supreme Lord has not misused. So how does he differentiate? There is Brahmana and there is a dog. Why is one in a Brahmana body? Because he sees that the Brahmana particle of the Supreme Lord has not misused his little independence. Right? And then the dog particle, which means the one who is engaged in the body of a dog, he has misused his independence. So one has not misused, the other one has misused, and therefore they have been punished. So what is the punishment? We getting the body again and again. Janma mrityu jarabhyadi dukkha doshanu darshanam. This is the punishment. That is the whole cycle of birth and death that we are being forced into. This is the punishment that we are getting. So what should we do if we are intelligent? If we are intelligent, we have to get out of this punishment. We do not want this punishment again and again. Right? We have to try and get out of this punishment. Right? Niha vikrama nasosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. You know, this punishment is being described as mahato bhayat. This is the greatest danger. Why do we want to be punished with another body again, being engaged in another body again and again? We have to get out of it. Swalpam apyasya dharmasya. Why don't you perform little dharma? No, why should I perform dharma? Well, that is why you have been given a human body. You yearned for it. You were asking for it, that you are suffering, that you want a chance to get out of this material world. So I've given you an opportunity. The only way for you to get out of this material world is from a human body. That is your gateway. I've given you this human body. Now, why are you not making good of it? Right? So that is the greatest opportunity, right? Because dharma is the only one that is extra for a human person. If we are not using it, dharmena hinaha, pashubihi shamanaha, we are simply pashu. So what happens? In the next life, we become engaged in the form of a dog because we are misusing our independence. And so we are being punished by being given a dog's body. Not considering the respective actions of the Brahmana and the dog, the Uttamadikari tries to do good to both. Such a learned devotee is not misled by material bodies, which is external, but is attracted by the spiritual spark within them, which is their internal identity or their original identity. Those who imitate an Uttamadikari by flaunting a sense of oneness or fellowship, but who behave on the bodily platform are actually false philanthropists. But there are other people. So we saw that there is a Kanishtadikari, there is a Madhyamandikari, and then there is a Uttamadikari. But there are people who are in between. That is somebody who is trying to imitate a Uttamadikari, even though they do not have that proper understanding or they have not come to that platform of, being completely Samadarshina. So what they do, they flaunt a sense of oneness of fellowship, but behave on the bodily platform. They still make differentiations within their heart, right? Oh, he is disciple of so-and-so guru. Oh, he is not ISKCON, he is something else. He's following Hare Krishna, but he is not ISKCON. Oh, he is not a Vaishnava, he is some other, or so on and so. We keep on making distinctions like that, right? The conception of universal brotherhood must be learned from a Uttamadikari. So universal brotherhood is important in terms of trying to understand everybody on the platform of the soul and not the body in terms of color. Sometimes there could be a very Vaishnavic person who is a very exalted personality, but could be considering, oh, he is a foreign body, he is an Indian body. How can a foreign body become a devotee of Krishna? Vaishnava? How can he wear a Brahmana upavita, and so on and so forth, right? So those kind of conceptions come purely because of being in the bodily platform, that somebody has a white skin, somebody is not born in such a family, and improper understanding of scripture. So, and not from a foolish person who does not properly understand the individual soul or the Supreme Lord super soul expansion who dwells everywhere. So the Lord dwells everywhere, right? Suyate cha characharam, chara and achara, both moving and non-moving, the Lord is present everywhere, right? He is not only present as an expansion, Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. When Krishna says that I am present in every jiva as the soul, does not mean he is only present in the jivas or all living entities. He is even present in the achara, which means the non-moving. How can we understand? When Hiranyakashipu struck the pillar within his palace, we can see that the Lord came out of it. And in fact, the acharyas are saying that he was ready to come out of any of the pillar. So it was not, is it possible that a living entity is born from a womb, which is a pillar? No, practically it is not possible. But the Lord made it happen. And that is the inconceivable nature of the Lord, that he can be present both in chara and achara. It is clearly mentioned in the 6th mantra that one should observe or systematically see. This means that one must follow the previous acharyas. Right? Systematically see. Yeah. Why does Srila Prabhupada use the word systematically see? One should observe or systematically see. What is the purpose of that? We should understand that we should not try and see the Lord according to our speculative thought. Oh, I see Krishna everywhere. Everything is Krishna. Sarvam Krishnamayam. Like that, we cannot just imagine accordingly. We have to understand, if everything is Krishna, how is everything in Krishna? What is that? That Srila Rupa Goswami gives us. He says, oh, Nirbandhaha Krishna Sambandhe. Apparently, it looks like there is no Sambandha for Krishna for all of these things. This is material. How can I use it? Oh, this is a mobile phone. How can I use this in Krishna's service? I have no understanding. Then we can say, oh, mobile phone, it's fine. As long as you are using it in Krishna's service, that you want to talk to devotees. You want to read Bhagavad Gita, and you don't want to do any other nonsense with that. So when we can understand that, how we can use it in Krishna's service, then that becomes proper understanding. So apparently everything seems to be unrelated to Krishna, but how can you find that relationship to Krishna? That is Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. That is what is being proclaimed. That is the highest form of Vairagya. The renunciation is that how can you use everything in Krishna's service? So it is clearly mentioned in the 6th mantra that one should observe or systematically see. Now, we by ourselves will not be able to systematically see. We need guidance because our vision is still not clean. Ata Sri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyehi. Shevon mukhehi jihvadau swayameva spuratyadaha. It says, Krishna Nama Adi means everything else, which means he includes the spiritual manifestations of the Lord and also the material manifestations of the Lord. Na bhavet grahyam, you cannot understand it by your own. Why? Because your indriyas are still material. The senses are still material. It doesn't have the capability. Like, for example, we were discussing that if we want to go and see a 3D movie, you need to have the 3D glasses, the right tool by which you can see it. Otherwise, we cannot see. We have not been enabled for it. So we need that enablement. Who gives that enablement? The enablement is given through the Chakshu, Chakshudhan Dilo Jai Janme Janme Prabhu She. That Prabhu, Guru or the Acharya, the perfected teachers, they will be able to give it. So it says here, Anupashyati is the exact Sanskrit word used in this connection. Anu means to follow and Pashyati means to observe. What does that mean? Pashyannapi na pashyati. Another time we see the same usage, right? So Pashyanapi na pashyati, they are seeing, but they are not able to see. They are seeing, but if they want to see, what should they do? Then one has to do anupashyati. What is that? One has to follow in the lines of the acharyas and see it. Then they will be able to see. Otherwise, they will not be able to see. Otherwise, whatever they are seeing, they will say, oh, this is material. This is karma. This is a karmic. He's a karmi. Like that. We will be able to, look at things in a very blunt way. But if we have to see it in its reality, absoluteness, then we have to take the guidance of the acharyas, right? Mahajanas ena gata supanta. If we simply follow Anu, right, we are all called as Rupanugas, Prabhupada-anugas. Why? Because we have to follow according to the instruction of Srila Rupa Goswami. So we are called Rupanugas. And Srila Rupa Goswami is the foremost acharya in this line to take us to that particular process of Krishna Bhakti as given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? So we follow him. And when we follow him, then we will be able to observe and understand. Thus, the word Anupashyati means that one should not see things as he does with the naked eye, but should follow the previous acharyas. Due to material defects, the naked eye cannot see anything properly. Nabhavet grahyam indriyahi, he cannot see it. Sheva unmukehi jihvado, he has to perform seva. Seva unmukha, favorably he has to do seva. Simply seva alone is also not enough, but it has to be done favorably to the Lord. Sheva unmukehi, how jihva adau, by beginning with the tongue. Jihva means tongue, adau means in the beginning. That simply by in the beginning, trying to use the tongue. How? One can chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That we can do with the tongue. And then we can have Mahaprasadam. Just this is the process. Have Mahaprasadam, chant Hare Krishna. Prabhupada made it very simple. Chant and be happy. Due to material defects, the naked eye cannot see anything properly. One cannot see properly unless one has heard from a superior source. And the highest source is the Vedic system, which is spoken by the Lord himself. Vedic truths are coming in disciplic succession from the Lord to Brahma, from Brahma to Narada, from Narada to Vyasa, and from Vyasa to his many disciples. Formerly, there was no need to record the message of the Vedas, because people in earlier ages, we were more intelligent and had sharper memories. They could follow the instructions simply by hearing once from the mouth of a bona fide spiritual master. Right? That is the, their ability, that simply they could, their Shrutidharas, simply hear it once, then they follow for their lifetime. Guru Mukha Padmavakya Chittete Karya Aikya. That when Guru's instruction comes, immediately they make it their life and soul. So that is the only instruction that goes in there. Their life is simply Anupashyati. They walk that path, they observe that path, and they simply live that path. Right? Chittete karya aika. Arna kariha mane asha. There is no other asha that they have. But now what we should do? Guru's instruction. Oh, let me write down the Guru's instruction. What should I do every day? Let me put a to-do list. I have to do this. I have to read Bhagavatam. I have to do this. I have to follow this. I have to chant 16 rounds. Am I doing it yesterday? Did I do it? I tick. Right. Sometimes I forget. Somebody has to come and say, Prabhu, did you chant Hare Krishna? No, you did not chant. Did you read Bhagavatam? Prabhu, you did not come for the, the weekly program. Did you come? Like that, we have to be reminded. Why? Because our nature is to forget and become deviated. We have all other things so busy, we're busy with so many things, right? So we forget. What do we forget? The purpose of our life. This is the whole purpose of our life. We forget that. So we have to be reminded either by others or by our own selves sometimes, right? So we simply, formerly there were no need to record the message of the Vedas because people in earlier ages were more intelligent and had sharper memories. They could follow the instruction simply by hearing once from the mouth of a bona fide spiritual master. Then automatically everything became illuminated within their heart. Chakshudan diloche janme janme prabhushe divya gyan hriday prakashito. Divya gyan, the knowledge, all of this understanding about Krishna, about his presence in everything and his relationship with everything, and how we can see that in relationship with everything, becomes enlightened or illuminated from within the heart. Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito, just becomes illuminated from within the heart. So they could follow the instructions. So at present, there are many commentaries on the revealed scriptures, but most of them are not in the line of disciplic succession coming from Srila Vyasadeva, who originally compiled the Vedic wisdom. The final most perfect and sublime work by Srila Vyasadeva is Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. There is also the Bhagavad Gita, which was spoken by the Lord himself and recorded by Vyasadeva. These are the most important revealed scriptures, and any commentary that contradicts the principles of the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam is unauthorized. Right? So there are various commentaries. What is the most authentic commentary? The authentic commentary of the Vedanta, Sarva Shruti Saram Ekam Adhyatma Deepam Adititi Shatam Thamoantam Sangsharinam Karunayaha Purana Guhyam Tam Vyasasonum Upayami Gurum Ninam. Srimad Bhagavatam itself claims that, oh, this is Sarva Shruti Saram Ekam. This is the essence of all the Shruti. Adhyatma Deepam. It gives knowledge and enlightens the Adhyatma Deepam. Atiditi Shatam Tamoandam, the ones who are in Tamo Andham, the darkness of Tama. There are different levels of Tama, right? And whatever level of Tama they are, it simply elevates them from darkness. Who elevates? Srimad Bhagavatam. And why has it come? Sangsharinam Karunayaha. For people who have been entangled or engaged in the samsara dhava nalalita loka, that in the samsara everybody is entangled. It is a place of forest fire, right? So sangsharinam karunayaha, simply being merciful to people who are struggling in this material world. This Srimad Bhagavatam has come. Sangsharinam karunayaha purana guyam. This is Purana, but don't simply think that this is some history, some Purana and just leave it like that, but it is Guyam. There is secrets involved in this. The secret, it's the most important secrets are all, embedded inside this. It's like, what do they call that? The treasure hunt, right? You go, if you see a treasure hunt, there will be some kind of a chit which will give a clue to something. Then you will take that clue and then you will go find a treasure somewhere. Actually, you don't find the treasure there. Another clue is given there. You take that clue, again, you move on to another place thinking that the treasure is there. Again, there also the treasure is not there. Then, like that, you keep moving on from one point to the other, one point to other, you take the clue. And that is what is Srimad Bhagavatam. That when we dive into this ocean of Srimad Bhagavatam, that we will be able to find these clues unto the ultimate treasure, which is the worship of Krishna in his form as Sri Radha and Krishna in the ultimate mood, ultimate mellow. That secret. So Purana Guhyam Tam Vyasasonum Upayami Gurum Muninam, right? That Vyasasonu, that Sri Sukadeva Goswami has come to give to everyone, including the great munis and gurus. They're all sitting and listening to it. What is the difficulty for us? Kim va aparairishwaraha sadyo hridi avaruddhate atra kritivihi susrushubhi takshanatha. That this was given originally by Vyasadeva. Now Sukadeva Goswami is all set to give this to everybody, right? Why are you looking for any other source of authenticity or guidance? This guidance, do you know what it can give? Sadyo hridi avaruddhate. Sadyo hridi, at the same moment, without any delay, it can bring Krishna to within your heart. It will arrest Krishna within your heart. Do you need any other process? Right? The only requirement that you need is kritibihi susrushtubihi takshanat. Simply if you become very serious, very attentive, then it can bring everything Krishna. But if you're playful with, approaching Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, of course, it's going to take a long time. So there is complete agreement among the Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, Vedas, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And no one should try to reach any conclusion about the Vedas without receiving instruction from members of Vyasadeva's disciplic succession, right? They have to be in somehow or other connected to the disciplic succession of Srila Vyasadeva. Then that becomes very authentic. Who believe in the personality of Godhead. And who are those people? They are the ones who believe in the personality of Godhead and his diverse energies as they are explained in Sri Isopanishad. According to the Bhagavad Gita, 1854, only one who is already on the liberated platform, Brahma Bhuta, can become an Uttamadikari and see every living being as his own brother. Let's go to the 1854. So here it is explained about the stage of Brahmabhuta. Brahmabhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati samahas sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. So we saw that there are different levels. We have the level of the Brahmane Kavihastini Sunichaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha. This Pandita, who is by knowledge, Vinaya, become mature, he is able to see. Right? How can we understand that Vinaya, that if that person is actually mature or not? And what is the litmus test for it? The litmus test is that na sochati na kankshati. That is, he is not sochati means he doesn't lament, or kankshati means he doesn't become anxious to achieve something, or he doesn't have any desire. So this person is called as Brahmabhuta. And what is another symptom of that person? Prasannatma, that he is a very happy person, is a very blissful person. Na sochati na kankshati. And then, is there any other symptom? Yes, of course. Samaha sarveshu bhuteshu. Sarveshu bhuteshu, not just human beings, not just his community, not just his sect. Sarveshu bhuteshu samaha. He looks at everybody. Mad bhaktim labate param. He is also in devotional service situated. Right? There could also be people who are very so-called very nasochati na kankshati. They look like they are very blissful. At least they can put up such a position in the public. They seem like they are samaha sarveshu bhuteshu, but are they mad bhaktim labate param? Whether they are able to give bhakti, which means do they have bhakti in their kitty? That is something that has to be understood. So that is the position of a Brahmabhuta. So here, according to only one who is already on the liberated platform, Brahmabhuta stage can become a Uttamadikari. That Uttamadikari, how can we understand whether he is a Pashandi or a real Uttamadikari, whether he is pretending or if he is a real Uttamadikari? The test is this: na sochati na kankshati. He is a Prasannatma. He sees everybody sarveshu bhuteshu samaha, and then mad bhaktim lavate param. He has Krishna consciousness or devotion service within him, and he can give that to everyone. Right? So this vision cannot be had by politicians who are always after some material gain. One who imitates the symptoms of an Uttamadikari may serve another's outward body. This is what? That externally somebody might put up all of these symptoms. It is quite possible. Na sochati na kankshati. Samaha sarveshu bhuteshu, that he will be able to see my dear brothers and sisters. They can open their opening speech like that they will be able to see apparently everybody is in the equal. But then when they go back inside, they are a completely different personality. So this vision cannot be had by politicians who are always after some material gain. One who imitates the symptoms of a Uttamadikari may serve another's outward body for the purpose of fame or material reward, but he does not serve the spirit soul. What is the service to the spirit soul? Mad bhaktim labate param. That he is able to have and give the greatest gift of devotion. Such an imitator can have no information of the spiritual world. The Uttamadikari sees the spirit soul within the material body and serves him as spirit. Thus, the material aspect is automatically served. That is, when the Uttamadikari serves spirit soul, which is the root, and when it becomes in a state of complete bliss, automatically the necessities of the body are automatically solved, right? And that is what is given. So going back to the translation here, and the core of today's words says, who, he means the living entity, who systematically sees. So the process of seeing has to be systematic. What is systematic? It means that it has to be in the line anupashyati, which means it has to be in the line of the acharyas, observes in a systematic way, anupashyati. So it has to be systematic. Our seeing has to be systematic. It shouldn't be vagary. And then in relationship to the Supreme Lord, our seeing has to be in relationship to the Supreme Lord, which means one should not simply speculate. One should find as to how it can be centered towards the Lord. And then he sees the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord also in a similar way, and who sees the Supreme Lord within every living entity and non-living. He is the real person who is situated in the right position. And that is the core of this thing. While describing this, I know it's 7:29. I'll just take a few minutes to a very interesting story or an incident. It's not a story. It is actually a very beautiful Leela that happened, right? So we have in the Vitala Panduranga Leela, so we see that there is one of the greatest devotees who's Namadeva. Namadeva was a very exalted devotee that he could converse with the Lord on a daily basis. Every day when he goes to the temple, he would converse with the Lord. The Panduranga and Namadeva would have a conversation between each other, right? That is the greatness of that devotee. And he used to come to the temple. I'm just making this, Leela a little bit short in positive time. So we see that Namadeva used to visit the temple on a regular basis, and then he would use to converse with the Lord. And suddenly, after some time, he stopped going to the temple. And he was sitting. He did not come to the temple. Panduranga was very worried. What is happening? Of course, Panduranga is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is seated in everyone's heart. He knows the heart of Namadeva. But in this, in the mood of this Leela, he was worried. Oh, where is my Namadev? He's no more coming to the temple. I'm not able to have my sweet conversations with him. Where is he gone? And so the Lord goes to see Namadeva. And where is Namadeva? Namadeva is sitting in one corner, and he is simply, chanting the Lord's names. He's singing in the glorification of the Lord. And there are, of course, different versions of this Leela. But one of the versions is this, that he used to sit in a place and he used to simply glorify in Kirtan the Lord. And then his wife, being worried, she would come prepared, nice rotis and then bring it and leave it with Namadeva so that at least he would eat something. Otherwise, he wouldn't even think about eating. And he would come and force him to eat something. But, his thought was never away from the Lord and glorifying the Lord. So, she would just leave the, the prasada there, and then she would go home to attend to the other chores of her, home. And one day when that happened, and Namadeva was completely immersed in the glorification of the Lord, there was a dog that came there, and the dog picked up the rotis, from the, the parcel that was there, or the plate that was there, and it ran away. Immediately, Namadeva woke up, and from his, deep meditation, smaran, and he was running after the dog. The dog was running, and he was chasing the dog, and everybody was so surprised. They all were seeing this incident, and he was surprised. Oh, this Namadev, he is not worried. His wife so meticulously comes and gives this prasada every single day. We have seen days when he has not even touched this roti until evening, and he has never even bothered to go home. And this dog came and picked up one roti, and why is he chasing the dog? What is going on with this Namadev today? And everybody was so surprised of his behavior on that day, right? And finally, he chases, and then he corners the dog in one corner of a bush. In one place it says a bush, one place it says one corner of the temple, and he corners, the dog, and he says, "Oh, my dear dog, you think if you come in this form that I will not be able to identify? Why are you taking this dry roti? I will give you some butter and ghee. Please, take this. Otherwise, this is going to choke your throat. Do you think if you come in the form of a dog that I will not be able to identify you?" So Namadeva was able to identify that this dog which took away the roti was none other than Lord Panduranga himself. Now, how was Lord Panduranga there? He was in the form of a dog, right? And how was Namadeva was able to recognize the Lord in that form? Because he's always in the mood of the Lord. No matter in what form the Lord comes, he will be able to recognize. And that is the highest stage of the Mahabhagavata. That he will be able to see the Lord in any form, in a living form or a non-living form, he will be able to see. And in every place that he will be able to see the Lord and his relationship with everything. And that is the beauty. And then the Lord Panduranga gives him the darshan. Oh, my dear Namadeva, I have missed you, that you have stopped coming, and I'm in so much separation that you're not coming to me. And that is why I wanted to very, very badly come and meet you. And and then Panduranga starts to feed, the Lord with the roti and, the butter and the ghee and everything, and this sweet pastime. So we can see as to how the most exalted, devotees are able to see the Lord in everything. Of course, there are so many other pastimes in Panduranga. We see that Gyaneshwara, who was again another great devotee, what did he do? He had a buffalo, and he said, he made that buffalo chant the Samaveda, right? And the buffalo started to chant the Samaveda. So he was able to go even a level higher, wherein he was able to make a buffalo chant the Samaveda. So how he did not differentiate anybody, and how he was looking at everybody as spirit, soul, and that they have a body just because of that particular disconnection or whatever, right? So I stop here and see if there is any questions or anything that else that might have missed out or you would like to share. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Santa Gopesh Prabhu.
Prabhu, can I add on to that Gyaneshwar pastime, Prabhu?
Yes, please.
So, this is what we have heard in Maharashtra, that so he was his father had taken sannyasi. He had taken sannyas, and then after taking sannyas, he got again married. So he was kind of outcasted by the other brahmanas. And when they killed themselves, both mother and father, these three brothers and sisters, they were roaming around, and they were not able to do. They wanted some shelter and other things. So in one of the debates, because there is nothing in the Shastra which says what happens to that person, what is the punishment of Pachatap for the person who, the sannyasi having kids. So sannyasi usually will never have kids. After taking sannyasi, and then after that they begot children. So this was a very rare situation. And then in that, when these scholastic people who were actually going through the Vedas, they then having this debate, and he posed some questions to them, which kind of, then they started making fun of him, he being a small child, and they challenged him. When you say that, we are Ansha of, everyone is Ansha of Krishna, and we are everywhere, then can you make, there was one person bringing buffalo, carrying buffalo, and he was passing through the street. Can that buffalo also chant Vedas if everyone has the right? Then he calls him, the person, and then he places, and he recites one mantra, and the buffalo recites after him. And seeing that, then people, then they understand that he is not an ordinary soul, and then takes a different course, and then people starts and they start attending his lectures. Basically, he starts preaching on Gyaneshwari, which is basically Bhagavad Gita. So this was one beautiful pastime, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hari Bol.
Thank you so much for describing the pastime in detail, Prabhu. So much, yeah, beautiful. I've heard this in a very, very young age, many years ago. I don't know how many years, but thank you for recollecting all the details of this. Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else has any questions or anything that you would like to share?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thanks a lot for walking us through the purport. I think it's good. Slowly we are doing this kind of a study. It's nice that Prabhupada has revealed so much about the different different types of devotees and all. It's very good. We keep hearing this in different lectures, but it's interesting to know that this is also given very clearly in this purport. So it's good. Prabhu, I'm also part of one other group where we are reading Isopanishad. So what we are doing every class, which is finding to be effective, we are coming to the 10th mantra. So what we are doing is, at the beginning of the class, we just read the meanings till now. And again in the end of the class, we read the meanings till now. Only the meanings, not the shlokas. So that is helping us to know the way the mantras flow, while we'll meditate on some of the important points we learned in each mantras, and how each mantra is connected. So we can try that experiment today, because we tried this experiment for the last 3 weeks, and it is finding to be very effective. So if you do not mind, if you can open up the Vedabase as you're sharing, and the in the Vedabase introductory thing, you have only the verses, right? So each one of us can take one verse and read it till today we have covered 6th verse, no? So we can go to the 6th verse, and then we can also read the meaning of 7th verse, which is going to come tomorrow. I think, oh, it's already 7:40, yeah? Okay, but we'll quickly do that.
Yeah, it's just taking some time to refresh.
Okay, otherwise I can do it.
Just give it one moment. It's got stuck somewhere. Yes. I think there's some issue. It's come up.
Yeah.
The invocation, Prabhu.
No, not invocation is not there. Yeah, so for mantra 1, so I start from mantra. So then we can see the connectivity of the shlokas, because what's happening is the purports are so long. Prabhupada is giving quite a lot of information in each of the shlokas. So we might get lost in the connectivity of the main thread of the shlokas. The idea is here, once we complete the Isopanishad reading, we should be able to know the gist of all these 19 mantras, and we should be able to connect these mantras as a mala, or a what do you call a string of pearls. So if the moment the word Isopanishad comes, these quickly we should be able to recollect what are each of these mantras tell. So in that context only I'm telling. So we'll just spend 5 to 6 minutes. I'll read the first one. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. This is the Isha-Vasyam principle. Probably it's one of the core mantra of Isopanishad, right? So when you look at the second mantra, can someone read it?
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
One may.
Yeah, Prabhu, go ahead. Go ahead, Santa Kaushik
Yeah,
Prabhu.
Prabhu, you please, you read it, Prabhu. Please go ahead.
Yeah. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. For that sort of work will not or bind him in the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. Hare Krishna.
Mantra 3. The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance.
Yeah, can someone pick up the mantra 4?
I'll read, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Mantra 4. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him, although in one place he controls those who supply the air and rain. He surpasses all in excellence. Hare Krishna.
Mantra 5. Prabhu, I can read? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.
That one. The mantra 5. The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside of everything. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Mantra 6. He who systematically sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being.
Yeah, last mantra 7.
7 we didn't take up, Prabhuji. 7 will be next class, no?
No, next class also we read it so that we know what is coming.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I'll read mantra 7.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Go ahead.
One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks in quality one with the Lord, become the true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him?
Hare Krishna. So if we see this mantras, Harigopal Prabhu can go slightly up. First mantra tells us the Ishavasyam principle, that we should know what is needed for us and what is given by us, and set aside that and leave rest everything to us. But it talks about equality, and it also talks about that we should not get into a mode of jealousy to acquire everything more than what is needed, and we should not feel sad that something is not there, because something is not there because it's not our quota. So those people who understand this principle, Ishavasam principle, can live forever, hundreds of years, absolutely no problem, because as they live, as they are doing the activities of karma, they are not bound by anything. So everything that they do is akarma. So that's the best way of executing one's activities, right? Because they know the Ishavasyam principle, that whatever they have got, that is what they got. And third thing, it goes to saying that if we don't follow Ishavasyam principle, what happens? So this is what we see in this world, right now, and even before. It's full of darkness, where we fight for things, and we kill ourselves and kill others. Kill ourselves means kill our ethics, kill our morality, because we are always after something, and that's why we go to worlds of faithless and full of darkness and ignorance. And material world is also a kind of a place which is full of darkness, right? And then they talk about who is that person who is making all these rules, or all these aspects of this universe. And that person is Supreme Personality of the Godhead, and he is a personality. He is there in his abode. That means there is an abode, and there is him in person. And then it gives an Aishwarya. Fourth and fifth mantra shlokas give the Aishwarya, the potency of the Lord. He says he's fixed, he's swifter than the mind, and overcomes everything, and is all powerful. And it relates to something indirectly that is told in the invocation mantra, that is perfect and complete. We have also discussed that it's perfectly complete and completely perfect. So that's the reason why there is nobody powerful than him. even the powerful demigods cannot approach him. He controls those who supply air and rain. That means Varunadev and Indradev, he controls, and he surpasses all in excellence. So perfectly complete, completely perfect. And then mantra 5 also gives the opulence of the Lord, because of his inconceivable potencies, that he can walk and he does not walk, and he's far away and he's very near as well. That is his inconceivable potency. That's why he's God. He's everywhere, but not everywhere also. And then it says, just like the way mantra 2 told, the people who follow and understand the Ishavasyam principle, whatever they do, the karma does not bind them. And in the mantra 6 and 7 gives us the characteristics of those people who not only have understood that Ishavasyam principle, and also know and understand the opulence of the Lord as it is, yatha tatha. Then what will happen to them? Once our understanding also evolves in that way, then they systematically see everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything and never hates anything or any being. And mantra 7 says, one who sees all living entities as spiritual sparks in quality with the Lord becomes a true knower of things. Then what can be illusion or anxiety for him? So mantra 6, 7 are the practical realization. So, and in the beginning of Isopanishad we also said, right, some shlokas deal with Sambandha Jnana, who is God and what is the relationship with him. And if you see here, 5 and 6 are telling who is God, what is his opulence, what is his greatness. 6 and 7, 4 and 5 are telling that. 6 and 7 are basically telling what happens to us if you know who we are and if you know who is God. And then we try our best through devotion service to sustain in that relationship, to nurture that relationship. What happens to those people? Mantra 6 and 7 tells. They start seeing everybody as equal. That means what does it mean practically is that they are peace within themselves. Things do not agitate them. There's no need for them to become envy. It's easy to say, but these are the principles that we can follow to some extent, even in our devotional life, to reduce the tensions between us. So there are sometimes, even in the devotional practices also, there's always unbun, right? In Hindi they call it. Chemistry problems come. And we start not liking somebody, or we hate somebody, or somebody hates us. Some relationship problem comes, communication breakdown happens. Sometimes we hanker for praise or hanker for recognition while doing devotion service. It doesn't come, we become unhappy, we fight with others. Or somebody without our own problem, our own mistakes, suddenly misunderstands us and they create problems. When all these things happen, these 6 and 7 shlokas is what we need to remember. So we need to remember that there is also Krishna there, and they are also spiritual sparks of Krishna. So more and more deeply we understand this, more and more we get peace. And the 6 and 7 are very much connected with Bhagavad Gita 6.29 and 6.30. So there also Krishna very deeply tells to Arjuna while doing the Dhyana Yoga. 6.30, Yomam Pashati Sarvatra Sarvam Chamai Pashati Tasyaham na Pranasyami Sachame na Pranashyati. The one who sees me everywhere and everything in me, I am never lost to him, neither he is lost to me. That means they are always connected. So this principle of trying to see everybody is very easy to say. Sometimes it may look very impractical, but I think devotees can cultivate, and we've seen devotees cultivate this to some extent or other, or at least we should be conscious to cultivate this, so that even if somebody hurts us or somebody creates problem, we just let it go as long as it doesn't hurt us too much. When somebody hurts us, or when we get into the problem of misunderstanding or communication gap, we need to just ask ourselves, is this causing me too much of a botheration for me to do my sadhana, for me to progress in my devotion life? If it doesn't, then we can leave it aside. So that is important. So mantra 6 and 5 and 6 tell us that, and 7 extends that understanding. The one who sees what happens. So okay, after understanding the Aishwarya of the Lord, one starts seeing everybody as equal, and then mantra 7 in the next chapter tells us what happens to that person. So prayojana, beyond prayojana, is what is described. So in this way, when we read I think next week also we'll read the mantra meanings and then get into the mantra, so we can get a connection to the previous verses very nicely. Again, I said this is an experiment that we have done in other class. It is working really well, and the main objective for all of us should be, after 19 shlokas mantras are done, if somebody says Isopanishad, the moment the word we heard Isopanishad means, we should be able to quickly recollect at least some summary points of each of these shlokas and the connectivity between each of them, how the knowledge is. So sorry, I took more long time, but I thought this was an important thing that I can probably share with all of you. Again, once again, we thank Hari Gopal Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is one way, a very good way of reading Srila Prabhupada books. Sometimes it may look to be a bit monotonous because purports are long, but then we should try to read slowly, patiently, and then it helps us to absorb it. One more thing, of course, I'm just telling, I'll also try to follow. But the advantage I told like last time that I'm also doing the Isopanishad in some other place. We are slightly ahead of 2-3 mantras than this session. So invariably, forcefully, I'm trying to read those mantras. So if devotees can spare some time, so before coming to the class, you can read the purport and the meaning of the shloka, which is going to be discussed the subsequent week. It will immensely help you to absorb, because the wealth of knowledge that Prabhupada is giving in his purports is too huge that we cannot ignore. Yeah, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Sorry, I took a bit more time, but it's important that I wanted. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Hari Gopal Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So, Mangal Prabhu, anything, last thing, any prayer requests? I am happy that Chauhan Prabhu has joined. I think he was requesting us to have some kind of a reschedule of the program, which we could not do. we'll think it over after some time on how do we readjust the program to ensure that people who are working on Saturday also can join the program. So it may take a bit time for us to adjust, but the recordings are there. I can also post all the recordings till now, all the sessions. So one can, if they want to hear, they can hear in leisure or when they were driving or whatever it is. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Harigopal Prabhu, for a nice class, and Jagan Prabhu also very nicely contributed to the classes. And Prabhuji, not only Patishit Prabhu, there are some other devotees also requested if it's possible to have classes on Sunday, no? So I didn't promise them because I mean I need to know is it difficult for other devotees or not, so I have not promised anything, but we'll see later. Yeah. Prabhuji, so can I request for a prayer for Srimati Madhavi Devi Dasi Mataji? She will be traveling to Iraq again. So alone she'll be staying for a few weeks there, which is not easy for her. So can you just pray for her? And then all the other devotees. Yeah, Prabhuji.
Yeah, sure, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Yeah, taking the mantra 6 again, he who systematically sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as parts and parcels, and who sees Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. We'll also pray to all the people, all the living entities back in Russia and Ukraine, where there's a lot of turmoil is going on there. A lot of people are suffering, and as the situation continues to grow, it looks like it is going to impact quite a significant people, at least economically, throughout the world, though not physically. So we'll also pray for all those people, both sides, to let them be guided by God, let them be guided by the Isha Vasyam principle of knowing and to be satisfied with what they have than trying to get others' rights. So let's pray for those people who are suffering so that their suffering can probably reduce. And we should also pray to those people who are still continuing on the path of self-destruction and the destruction of others, which world is helplessly watching and not being able to do much. So we'll definitely pray for them. And I also understood that some of our devotees in Ukraine also got impacted, and even in the difficult times in Poland and other places where refugees are coming, and then they're going back to their home countries. They are doing the Harinam Kirtan, they are doing the book distribution in the airports. Devotees are doing extremely good job. They're rising up to the occasion to make people remember the Lord, and also to expose these tremendous fault lines that exist in this world that we live. So we'll pray for those very sincerely in the mood, in the spirit of Isopanishad teaching, that we should all see everyone as the spiritual part and parcel of God. So with a deep prayer of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I'll stop the recording, and we'll also thank Purnanand Prabhu for gracing our group today. So
it's my privilege. I asked Hari Gopal Prabhu about the class. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
I get to learn something from your stalwarts,
No, Prabhu, we are not stalwart. Hare Krishna. Take care, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thanks, Hari Gopal, once again. See you next week. Hare Krishna. Bye.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.